order to compare the sociological and psychological methods for studying religion, it's best to define sociology and psychology by themselves. Sociology is the scientific study of society, culture, patterns of social relationships, and social interaction. Psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. Sociology is imperative to the study of religion as individuals can be influenced by their environment. This approach is centered around how surroundings can create religion. Sociology often requires the anthropologic branches of ethnology and ethnography. Ethnography is the academic art of collecting cultural data about certain communities, generally through the process of fieldwork. This process of fieldwork usually requires living with the community you intend to study for an extended period of time. Ethnology involves the comparative study of cultures and the analysis of the data to construct frameworks of understanding a cultural phenomenon. Two philosophers that developed sociological methods to studying religion are Max Weber and Emil Durkheim. On the other hand, psychology is important to the study of religion as it undoubtedly contains a system of beliefs and values. This approach centers around how our minds create religion. Two philosophers that developed psychological methods to studying religion are Sigmund Freud and William James. Going back to psychology, Sigmund Freud is well known for his threefold division of the human personality. This division was imperative for studying why someone might be religious. He divided the personality into the id, superego, and ego. At the top is the superego, a collection of influences that impose the personality. It is the collection of attitudes and expectations of society as framed from an external source. At the bottom is an id, an unconscious force where the raw physical drives of the body come to a form of mental expression. The id may influence the actions of eating, killing, or engaging in sex. Between the superego and id is the ego. The ego is essentially a choice center. It must satisfy the desires of the id and the superego, and is suspended between the demands of society and the desires of the body. Freud found that the individual personality could illuminate every aspect of behavior. By using psychology, he attempts to look beneath the surface of accepted doctrines and discovers that elements of personality shape religious faith. This, in turn, shapes the human. He studied the activities of religious people and compared them to neurotic patients. He found that they both placed emphasis on doing things in a patterned ceremonial fashion, and that both felt guilty unless they followed the rules of their own rituals. He ultimately described religious behavior as a mental illness. The work of William James revolves around the idea of pragmatism, that the truth or meaning of a statement is to be measured by its practical consequences. That is to say that everything is only as valuable as it can be practically used. Pragmatism is important to the psychological study of religion as it is used to judge the truth and practicality of religion. It's fair to say that people find value in the practice of religion. If religion helps us to make sense of what we experience in the world, it can create value and order. However, if religion becomes meaningless, then its value must be reevaluated. From his book, The Varieties of Religious Experience, William James states, "The world interpreted religiously is not the materialistic world over again, with an altered expression. It must have, over and above the altered expression, a national constitution different at some point from that which a materialistic world would have. It must be such that different events can be expected in it. Different conduct must be required." In other words, James is taking a pragmatic view of religion. He states a religious world is not the result of a materialistic world with an altered expression. A religious world is its own thing that has its own value and purpose. However, its value and purpose is always subject to change. From Freud and James, it's important to see the psychological ways of studying religion. The first is to evaluate the personality of an individual, how our beliefs and desires affect our decisions from the ego, and second, to have a pragmatic view, to constantly find practicality and use in the things that we value. On the sociological side of things, Durkheim ultimately felt that religion was an effect of societal forces. His two guiding principles were that the nature of society was a promising subject for systematic investigation, and that social facts should be investigated by an objective scientific method. He classified societies as real things, an accumulation of languages, laws, customs, values, and traditions. When studying a specific society, he believed it could not be compared to anything else until it was thoroughly researched. Durkheim is well known for his study of Australian Aborigines. Using a sociological approach, he classified significant items in their everyday lives as symbols. One such symbol was the totem. The totem was a hidden force worshipped by the clan, as well as a concrete visible image. He found that worshiping of the totem was nothing less than worshiping of the society itself. Durkheim believed that the soul was conscious of the self, while the body naturally asserted its own self-centered desires. This is very similar to Freud's threefold model of the personality, where the soul might represent the superego, and the body might represent the id. From his research, he proposes the idea of the sacred. He found that religious beliefs were not the element of the supernatural, but the concept of the sacred. Sacred things are always set apart as superior, powerful, or forbidden to normal contact. The opposite of the sacred is the profane. These things belong to the ordinary and uneventful practical routines of our everyday lives. He considers society as sacred. Even though we make choices as individuals, we make them with a social framework that is given to us from birth. Weber carried similar ideas and believed that individuals carry their ideals of society, but sociology ultimately does not center only on the individual. He coined the concept of an ideal type, a model or theoretical measuring rod used to compare various empirical examples of a given social phenomenon. Weber found that facts and values were separate things. Personal value judgments did not belong to the process of social sciences. From Weber and Durkheim, when studying from a sociological approach, it is imperative to accept that societies have an influence on the individual's mind. When looking at societies, it's necessary to distinguish what is sacred and what is profane. Ideal types can be used to compare societies with one another, but conclusions should draw cautiously, unlike the comparative methods of Tyler and Fraser. By doing these things, we see how the realities of social structure create the appearance of religion. In conclusion, both sociological and psychological methods have an impact on the study of religion. While it may seem like they are two different things, they can be intertwined with each other. If psychology is the mind and sociology is a community, it's inevitable to find minds within a community. Studying the way humans form beliefs and values leads to how humans form societies. In return, we can then evaluate the influence of society on the religious beliefs of the individual. While it may be hard to find society in the mind, you can almost always find mind in a society. The study of religion can be difficult due to modern secularization and its complexity. However, by using these sociological and psychological methods, we can start to understand why religion has its impact and how it has been a pivotal part of some lives for thousands of years.